What's going on, guys? Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the A5 podcast. As you can see today, we're in a different studio. Shout out to Deco Films for helping us produce this episode out of Tampa, Florida. The guys came over to my side of Florida today.
Got a live audience today.
Live audience today and everything. We've never had so many eyes on us, so it's going to be a fun one. But, man, I'm excited for today's episode. We have a very special guest. We'll talk more about him in depth, but let me just give it up first and foremost for our friend, my brother in Christ, Pastor Sam Canchola from Radiant Church. Sam, thank you for you coming on board tonight.
Oh my gosh, I am just excited to be a part of an established podcast. I mean, you guys, we've already talked about it, but 63 episodes, something like that, that's crazy.
Yeah, man, year to date, 63. Yeah. It's funny because David and I were talking when we first met. David, the owner of Deco Films, when we first met, he told me we hit it off on the conversation of podcast.
Yeah,
and he asked me, like, how many episodes have you guys done? And at the time, I think we were like around 50.
Yeah.
And he told me most episodes hop off after 5 or 10. I think it was something like that.
99% hop off after 10 episodes.
That's crazy. So
we're the top 1% right here.
Listen,
I know, man. That's
Joe Rogan.
That gave me chills just hearing that.
Yeah.
Spotify will take 20 mil. But anyway,
yes, in Jesus' name.
But yeah, so we've started this podcast, and so we're just in 2026 we really want to get into just interviewing more and more pastors, more and more men who love the Lord and are doing amazing things in their sphere of influence. So, Sam, I've known you for about a year now, man. It's crazy how time flies.
Yeah.
Just quick intro to how I met Sam. When I took over the youth at my church, I was like, I've done youth in different capacities in the past, but I've never been over youth ministry per se in a church. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I need someone who can be in my corner, who I can call if I need to get advice or just cry. And so I started reaching out to a couple pastors, and I saw that you were the youth pastor at Radiant at the time, right? Mm-hmm. And I was just like, I'm going to shoot this guy an email. I don't think he'll ever answer. You answered the next day, and I was like, hey, man, would love to have coffee with you. And you were gracious enough to spend a little bit of time with me. And then from then on, man, I'm just grateful. You've always poured wisdom into me, encouragement. I'll never forget the time that you were driving past Courageous and you just shot a picture and you're like, bro, I'm believing in you, praying for you. So before we get started, man, I just want to honor you and thank you for everything you've done for me. I appreciate it. But tell us a little bit about you, man. Who are you? Where are you from? How you got to Tampa? I'll let you talk for a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. So proudly married. It's about to be 10 years.
Let's go.
In January. And my wife, Azlyn, and I, we're both originally from California. And so we had loved California in our time there. But through COVID, it actually opened up an opportunity for us to move anywhere in the country. And so previously in that role that we were in, we were actually video producing. And prior to video producing, it was actually advertising. That was my previous degree.
Wow.
And loved it. Absolutely loved advertising. In fact, the company I was working for was called EA Sports. They did Madden.
Just a tiny company.
Yeah, we were in
tiny
the game.
Company, no.
And so Madden, FIFA, and Star Wars, incredible IPs that I got the chance to work on, and it was just that was a whole total God thing in and of itself.
Wow.
But and we loved it. I loved working for EA Sports and working in that industry. But just along the way, Silicon Valley started exploding so much so that the commute turned from what was 30 to 45 minutes into like an hour and a half sometimes.
Dang. Wow.
One way. And so I'm like, something's got to change. And at the same time, an old manager was like, hey, like I'm actually working for this summer camp business where we teach kids how to code, develop video games. And I want you to come work for me again. So I'm like, all right, let's do it. So make the shift. And that's when he was like, it's in San Jose, California, which is where we're from. So the commute went down to like 10 minutes.
Nice.
Which, of course, anything that I can do to help foster more time with my wife, more time to do ministry, because we were serving in the church at the time. We just wanted to do it. Yeah. And so for me, I'm like, okay, check that box, check that box, check that box. It's a no-brainer. So we made the move, and then COVID happened. Yeah. And so that's when they're like, hey, we're already 60% of our company is already working remote. I think everybody can go remote now. Let's do it indefinitely. And so that's when, for us, we're like, all right, well, let's ask the questions. Why do we live here? Like, truly, why do we live in this city? What's holding us here? And we're talking through it with our pastor. And the pastor, our pastor, Dr. Wayne Mancarey, love him to death. He walked through the whole process with us. He could have very easily held on to us tightly and been like, hey, no, you need to stay. We're trying to build this church with you. But no, instead, he was so open-handed, and he provoked some thought-provoking questions and challenged us. And in fact, even recommended this little city near Orlando called Tampa, Florida. And he was like, aren't you like one of 5 Buccaneers fans in California? And I was like, yeah. He's like, God doesn't waste those desires. Wow. Like God does he uses everything. He's like, so you should go check it out. And so that's what we did. We checked it out in October of 2020. And then by the end of December, we had sold everything and we're in our cars driving across country.
Wow.
And stepped into our apartment sight unseen. Had never seen it before. And just, and then, that was kind of the start of our time in Tampa.
That's awesome. So, that's amazing. And I love that. And you said something already that I think is going to throw off my whole conversation because that was so good. God doesn't waste anything. And I think that sometimes we can even put God into a box, and God puts desires in you. And I think sometimes we put God into a box and we can limit, if it's not the fivefold ministry, then, you got to fit in and squeeze people in there. But especially I think like in our modern era, like 21st century, man, God is calling creatives, designers, graphic people, to like spread the gospel through the airwaves of podcasting and things like that. And so I just love that God doesn't waste anything. And even a little desire, like I'm a Buccaneers fan, God could absolutely use that to point you to your next season, right?
It's crazy.
And so, but I kind of want to start the conversation with this thought. I had the privilege to go see Pastor Philip Anthony Mitchell and Pastor Tim Timberlake in Jacksonville this week for the Street Preachers Pod. It was a phenomenal night. And there was one thing that really stood out to me that Pastor Philip Anthony Mitchell said. And he said, people want platforms without process. And that really stood out to me because we live in such a fast-paced society. You want something on Amazon, you get it in 24 hours. You want a good burger, you go to Culver's, you get it in 2 minutes. And sometimes that fast-paced mindset doesn't translate to real life. And I think a lot of people see the highs and not the lows, or the process of getting to that high. A lot of people see the 10-year marriage, right? Yeah. They're like, oh man, I want that. But they don't know the 10 years of, you guys have an amazing marriage. But just like any marriage, we're both married. We know there's moments that are difficult. You have challenging seasons, challenging moments. And so they don't see that stuff. That's not on Instagram. Yeah, they don't see the fights at midnight, So talk to me a little bit about that, the process of getting to where you've gotten. You are, because I know you, and you're incredibly humble. You started, eventually you became one of the youth pastors at Radiant. Now you're one of the campus pastors at Radiant. Talk to me about that process, because again, a lot of people probably see you where you're at and they're like, oh man, I want to be a pastor. Oh man, I want to have the house. I want to have the kids, everything. There's a process to everything. Yeah. And people want platforms, people want success without process. So talk to me a little bit about that journey, the process.
Yeah. So, the process of becoming a pastor, obviously there's competency, meaning that there should be some theology behind it of teaching and training. But one of the things that's also important when it comes to pastoring and just really any vocation is your calling. And really at the core of it, what are we called to do as followers of Jesus? Really, first and foremost, we're to worship our God. We're worship Him in everything that we do. Yeah. And so even going back to when we were just simply volunteering at our church, before we moved to Tampa, we had been volunteering in our youth ministry for 5 years. And none of that was anything that we were like trying to search for or desire, anything like that. It was simply just my wife being asked by the youth pastor at the time, hey, I need help. And by association and anything that my wife loves, I love. And so I'm like, all right, let's have these teenagers in our apartment. We're going to host a Bible study and we're going to do that. And so it was simply just saying yes. Yeah. There was never anything that we were like, I want this, I need this. And typically whenever there was something that we needed so badly like that, we typically had to wait. And you're right. It's not easy, waiting, but there's absolutely a process that needs to happen. A pastor that we grew up with would say this phrase. He would say that you can count the number of seeds in an apple, but you can't count the number of apples in a seed.
Mm.
And what he's saying is like, he's reminding us that like even just like the little seeds that are planted throughout your life, you never know what's going to come out of them.
Yeah.
And for us, we thought that becoming a pastor was going to be, or even being in ministry full time was a retirement plan. Like that was nothing on our radar.
Yeah.
But there was a season where both of us were no longer working in our very successful careers at the time, where both of us were unemployed.
Wow.
And it was just a point where like we were going to stick to serving in the church, and then we were going to continue just saying yes.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's when we talk about like process and like, you know, people wanting platforms and people desiring the need for an audience, I would challenge that thought of like, you know, what is the prize that you're searching for?
Mm-hmm.
I think about 1 Corinthians, where Paul's reminding the church like, hey, remember that runners, they run a race, right? And that boxers, they don't just shadow box, right? Like he's talking to them and reminding them like, why don't you run in a way that gets the prize?
Mm-hmm.
And I think at the end of all this running and working and trying to get cash and making income, grow an audience, all these things, you're eventually striving for some type of prize. And at the end of it, my hope, and really what Azlyn and my wife, where she checks us both on, is like, what is the prize that we're trying to strive for?
Yeah.
Is it for a role?
Mm-hmm.
Is it for more income?
Right.
And for us, our prize has just always been to say yes to the Lord.
That's so good.
It's been worth it.
That's
That's good. You know, as you were talking, I think about like the people who struggle with the delayed gratification of things.
Yeah.
And I remember I shared this with Richard, one of our guys here from the pod, and that sometimes people that struggle with that type of mentality, like, oh, I just want to know, you know, whatever it might be. It's like, you also have to be okay with however God brings it to you. Because I feel like sometimes people miss when God is answering the prayers, when God is trying to give you what you've been asking for. It's just not the way that you thought it was going to come, right? And I think of a lot of like when people struggle financially. And, you know, you hear these crazy testimonies of like, yeah, you know, God came through, you know, I was broke and, you know, a check came in the mail. And it's like, that's great. That might happen, you know, or it might come, you know, through that. I don't know. Someone calls you for like, hey, I need help, you know, to help someone move, you know, and I'll give you like $100. You know, there's there's people who I know that are in those type of financial situations, and they'll say no to stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because I was trying to give you something.
Right. God's trying to give you something, and you're just like, no, I'm not going to do that because, you know, I'm waiting on God. And it's like, that was God.
Yeah.
And it's like that story. I know we've talked about it. The guy that he's sinking and God sends him a boat. God sends him life jackets.
Yeah.
God sends him a helicopter. And every time the guy was like, no.
God's going to come through.
God's going to come through. And then he dies. And God's like, dude, I sent you a boat, a life jacket, and a helicopter. You said no every time.
Yeah.
So I think
funny.
it's shifting people's perspective of like, you know, to get out of that struggle of, I just want to know. And it's like, also keep your eyes open to how God is going to give you what you've been asking for.
Yeah. And even on that, like that made me think about the season of our waiting after getting laid off. So COVID basically caught up to the business, and first to go is production, is video and marketing and all that. And so
the video game business is vicious sometimes.
Totally. And so understood, right? And so it was one of those moments that like when it's out of my hands, it's in his.
That's good.
So it's like, okay, what did I sign up for like at this moment? Well, I was part of doing Fellowship of Christian Athletes for a local high school.
Nice.
And so I was their character coach. And so now that I have all this time.
What's a character coach?
So a character coach for Fellowship of Christian Athletes. They're responsible for the team's character development.
That's awesome.
And so part of the character development, of course, as Christians, is that we hope that they become more like Christ.
For sure.
Right.
Well, in a public school, you can't always say the name of Christ. And so as character coaches, what we can do, though, especially as believers, is, hey, let me tell you about what changed my life. Let me tell you about let me tell you about a characteristic of who my hero is, which is Jesus.
Wow.
And so
That's
originally,
pretty
it was incredible. And so I was signed up before the season had started in like July, maybe June. And I thought I was only going to do like once a month, once every 2 weeks. Well, I'm laid off now. And so it's like, well, now I'm going to go every week.
Yeah.
Same with youth. I had been serving in youth. Well, now I have more time to do that with my wife. And so whatever, this might be for someone that is unemployed, maybe struggling, applying to places, and you haven't actually hit or striked on somewhere. Keep going. Stay steadfast in those commitments that you have, because absolutely God can use anything. And for me and for us, that helicopter that came in was ministry.
Yeah.
Like that was something that was way down the road for us.
Yeah.
And the youth pastor at the time was like, hey, you're going to probably make a third, if not a fourth less of what you were previously making.
Yeah.
But I think you're going to be really good at this.
Yeah.
Would you consider saying yes?
Wow.
We prayed about it. We fasted about it. And then there we go.
That's
That started
awesome.
it. So,
Man, and again, like, I've had this thought in my spirit for a long time, just the process, embracing the process. Because even in my own journey, I've had to wait a long time to do what I thought God was calling me to do. I believe the Lord called me to be a pastor since I was 15. I'm 26. I didn't get to function in that capacity till like 2 years ago, vocationally at least, right? And so people forget there's a process to everything. Like King David was anointed in his teenage years. He doesn't become the actual king of Israel till 30.
Yeah.
Jesus doesn't start his ministry till he's 30. So there's 30 years there that we barely know anything of what he was doing during that time.
Yeah.
One time when he was 12 in the temple, schooling the Pharisees, right? And then when he was born. Outside of that, we don't know. Like, what was he doing during that time? There's a season of obscurity or a season of preparation, and people overlook those.
Yeah.
Totally.
And I just love your story because you were in California for serving how many years in youth?
Yeah, 5 years, yeah.
Just serving, not, hey, man, I'm trying to be the youth pastor of this church. I want to preach. You're just serving. And that's been my story. I remember when I first got to Tampa, there's two gentlemen in particular, two guys around my age who their questions really stood out to me. And I don't know if it was discernment or what, but just the spirit behind the question had an ulterior motive. It was like, hey, man, how'd you get into this position? It wasn't like, tell me your story, but it was like, how can I get to where you're at, right? Because again, people want platforms without process. And a lot of people, and this is another conversation that I want to touch on, people misunderstand what pastoring is sometimes. Yeah. My pastor, shout out to Pastor Ben, he always says that preaching is 10% of the job. The rest is meeting with people. You know it, finances, staff, people, like people want the platform. People want to preach. People want to speak. People want the audience. But shepherds need to smell like they're sheep, right? Like there's a big part of shepherding that has to do with people. And so talk to me a little bit about that, because I think, and I'm not just saying this because you're here, but man, I think you're a phenomenal pastor. And I've seen it in my life. We don't even go to the same church. There's been seasons of my life not too long ago where I was like, man, Lord, I just need someone to talk to. I have a lot of questions right now. I have an issue in my marriage right now. And the Lord just put you in my spirit. And I'm just like, man, I need someone immediately. And I know Sam's busy, but I'll shoot him a text. Bro, the next day we were having coffee. Like, you're a phenomenal pastor, and I appreciate that, right? So talk to me about that, like just the real meaning behind pastoring people. It's not preaching, right? I would argue communicating, that's a gift. It's a talent, right? God gives that. Yeah. But that's not necessarily the entirety of pastoring. Yeah. So talk to me a little bit about that. The misconceptions of pastoring sometimes, like, it's not just preaching. It's a lot of hard work to do behind the scenes as well.
It is a lot. And for any pastors that are watching, forgive me if I have a different definition of it. But for us, for me, I think my wife and I would agree that it's really shepherding at the heart of it. It's taking on the responsibility of being a spiritual parent in some areas of life, sometimes spiritual older brother or younger brother, whatever that might look like. But really, we're discipling people, and really, we're all called to disciple people. And so it is unique in that let me take a step back. There was a season where I was so hesitant about becoming a pastor because I had a reverence for it. And I when I hear about a pastor and I think about a pastor, I think of someone that is highly respected, high regarded, knows the Bible front and back. Like if you ask them a question, they are the ones that know every answer, that they are going to answer every single phone call. They're going to do all these things, and all they have to do is just be there for you. And really over time, I started to realize that no, you don't need to know every single part of the Bible, but you at least need to know the core doctrines for sure. Yeah. But you also just need to be available to walk through it with people. And that's where I lean into the shepherding part, where if you're able to, be available, here's a great litmus test. If someone is considering being a pastor, when someone says that they're going through hard times, they're in the hospital, and you aren't jumping to go to the hospital, there's probably some heart work that needs to get done before becoming a shepherd. You don't want to be, if you're only there for the celebrations like the weddings, but you're not there for the funerals, that's also probably a heart check. And so for us, and I think God has really blessed us with time as volunteers to be able to walk through those seasons with people. And so when we stepped into pastoring now, we're simply just doing it at a higher level. It doesn't feel like we're doing anything different. God has been preparing us in unique seasons, in unique ways all the way up to this point. And so that's where it's been, that's how I would pretty much define it, as like shepherding people.
And again, you said a key word again, preparing. God was preparing you. And you were serving in youth for 5 years with no agenda, just serving, right? And I think one of my biggest cautions for young people in ministry or aspiring to ministry, I think I worry a lot about the TikTok preachers, because you can get influence like that overnight with no process, with no training. You could hop on a TikTok right now and be like, say something cool, say something catchy, a little bit of alliteration, and you get 200,000 views and then 1 million subscribers, and you think you're the guy. And then there's been no submission, there's been no process, there's been no character development, there's no covering. That's huge. That's big. That's huge nowadays, right? So those are the types of things I worry about.
Yeah, with the TikTok TikTok evangelism, I actually first need to give massive props for those guys and girls. Like that is, to be so bold in sharing of your platform like that, which for a lot of a generation, maybe it's just millennials, pretty guarded with that platform of social media, of like only showing the highlights. And so if someone is like, no, I'm going to try and explain soteriology to my audience, and it's like, I'm going to try and go for it. And they try it, and I'm sure they do well. If not better than some pastors. I think they're reaching an audience that not all of us have. And so props, but also to your point, like you need a covering. My goodness, you need a covering. You need God's grace. You need God's mercy. And typically that comes in the form of a shepherd, some type of pastor that's going to walk through it with you. I think it's so important to have that.
Yeah, absolutely. You said earlier that you talked about Paul and the race. That's something that's been heavy on me this week. Like it looks like a tattoo on my head, and it's these 3 words: finish the race. Finish the race. 2 Timothy 4:7, it says, I have fought the good fight. I have finished the race. I have kept the faith. And we know from context that this is probably one of Paul's last letters writing to Timothy. And I just love that he says, I have finished the race. I have completed my calling. I'm successful in what I did. And what is it? I have kept the faith. Sometimes, again, we strive for like the church, the business, and we could start talking about other things, right? Because we reach a lot of people that might not be called to ministry, full-time vocational ministry, right? People that might not be pastors, but even in business, in life, marriage, because again, people want the success, the mountaintops, the highs without the process. People want the 30-year marriage without going through, you have character flaws that you haven't dealt with through therapy, but on your own, right? You can't, you're a horrible person single. You think you're going to be a good husband when you're married? Like marriage exposes the areas of your life that still need mending and purging. And so let's talk a little bit about that. Like when Paul says, I have fought the good fight, I have finished the race, I have kept the faith. What does that look like to you? Like what does success look like to you? What does finishing the race look like to you?
Yeah, I mean, I think when he's talking about finishing the race, I think it might go on, or maybe in another translation, it might talk about just the importance of integrity. Pastor Aaron, our lead pastor at Radiant Church, he talks a lot about that verse. And so he really reminds all of us that, like, guys, we could be doing incredible things for the community. We could be doing, great things on a Sunday, but my heart, my desire is that you finish the race as a follower of Jesus, but of course with the utmost integrity.
Yep.
And so when I think about, success, so to speak, one, I want people to be able to say at the end of, and this is actually a part of our discipleship, shout out Dr. Doug, he helped guide me in my discipleship, where we have a life statement. And I would hope that people in my funeral would say something along the lines of Sam was a bridge in some fashion, in some way. And what that looks like is, for me, it's a bridge from the lost to be saved, a bridge between this person and this person, a bridge for the Miami Dolphins fans to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers fans, whatever it looked like. Like, it's just, I feel called to be that person. And so the way that I'm able to do that, I need a partner. And so for me, the one of the successes is that I want to die married. I want my wife to be healthy. I want her to be there for life. And so either take some time and effort for that. And really, at the end of beyond that, I would love a healthy family, and just making sure that our lives were always about serving the Lord, serving the church, and everything after that, man.
That's good.
That's
good.
fair game.
I don't know if this was the verse you were referring to, but this is the one that came to mind. But it's in 1 Timothy 4. It says, "Watch your life and doctrine closely, persevere in them, because if you do, you will save both yourself and your hearers." I listen to that and I love it, because I think there's two extremes there, right? The doctrine and then your life. Some people are amazing, have great character, but you also need to know your word, right? Like you said, you need to know at least doctrine. Like we believe that God is one being and three persons, not that all roads lead to heaven. Can I get an amen?
It's important.
Like, you need to watch your life and doctrine, but then also I feel like sometimes you have people who are super smart, gifted, they know the word, memorize the scriptures back and forth, but character-wise, there's a big famous guy who's like debates a lot of Muslim apologists. The guy is a brain. The guy's gifted. But sometimes we're like, man, that was a little mean. I don't know if that was I don't know if that was the nicest way to say that.
It's tough love, but emphasis on tough.
One of the fruits is gentleness and kindness. And sometimes we're like, man, that wasn't too gentle. That wasn't too kind. And so again, watch your life and doctrine closely. Persevere in them, because if you do, you will save both. It says yourself and your hearers. And I think that's so important to finish the race well.
Because I was thinking about character, right? And I know you said that you were a character coach and whatnot, and you mentioned it now in that importance, right? Like, it's not only how talented you might be, and I feel like sometimes, at least, I've grown up watching sometimes people get like status and those platforms because they're so talented. And then it's like, man, but their character is like way off. So can you, like, I guess, touch a little bit on like why it's so important to have the right character before you get any title, any status, any platform, whether it's in the church or work or whatever it might be?
Yeah, definitely. So Pastor Aaron, he has this visual and this analogy that I love, because it's referencing the game Chutes and Ladders. Do you guys remember that game?
Yes.
Chutes and Ladders. So you would play this game and you'd roll the dice or whatever, and you would advance to one part of the game, the board game. And every now and then, if you landed on this one specific part of the board game, you would elevate very quickly. But then if you kept going and you landed on a certain spot, you could fall down the slide.
Oh, I've played that game.
All the way.
Yeah. Okay.
And so he just reminds us constantly that, like, hey, God could open up a door real quick, but he can also shut that door.
Oh, yeah.
Well, as he giveth, he taketh away.
Exactly. Yeah. And so that's where we always revert, at least for myself, I always revert to the spiritual disciplines. And so the spiritual disciplines that carried me in one season may look different in another season, but it's always consistent. And so what I was doing at EA Sports in 5 a.m. as I'm taking the train, I'm in my word. I'm praying for people. I'm praying for my wife. I'm praying. That same discipline is still here as a pastor.
Yeah.
And so it's like character, yes, it's all being defined. And I think really what's not even talked about is a lot of character development in movies. We love movies. We go into movies, go to movies all the time. But a lot of character development happens through adversity.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yes.
That's how
people want to avoid pain.
People want, and really, it's in those seasons that you really get to see who they are.
Yeah.
And that's why, going back to running and racing, I love to run. I've ran 6 marathons now.
Yeah, you made me run with you the other day, and I almost died.
I just started running.
Yeah, bro.
But I'm dying though.
You jump on, man. Jump on. But what I love about running is that you learn so much about the mental breakthroughs and the mental capacity needed to continue. There's a at the 20-mile mark, there is what's called the wall. And it's around 20 miles. Typically, each runner hits it. And at that wall, your mind is starting to tell you, hey, your body is breaking. What are you doing? And it's in those moments that you start to see people like just wobble legs and tapping out and like, I'm done.
That's me at 1 mile.
Yeah. Yeah. And so like that is a defining moment of, am I going to continue or am I going to tap out?
Yeah.
And I think in any area of life, that's how it is.
Yeah.
Just to be even candid, like I know we were talking about vocations and work and platform, but the process.
Yeah.
I mean, let's talk about the process for someone being single now, finding a spouse. That's a long process. And for a lot of people, that's really hard.
Oh, yeah.
And especially when you're trying to date and trying to find that person. Also for the married folks that are trying to have kids.
Yeah.
The process of having kids, it's not as easy as it once was.
Yeah.
And so the infertility process is a ministry of Azlyn and I's now that we get to share. And so all along the way, yes, we could sit back and just say, poor us, we don't have kids. But no, I'm going to keep serving the church. I'm going to keep building the faith, and we're going to keep discipling people. And in due time, I think the pastoring of people, the shepherding of people, and the spiritual parenting of people is probably gonna translate when we actually become parents of our biological kids.
Yeah.
And so but we have to break through and not sit on our hands and just say, well, this is it. I guess this is what we got.
Right.
So kind of going through a lot of different areas for you guys to go off of, but I think it's all tied together.
No, it's good. And I think we started off saying this, right? That God doesn't waste anything. And I'm a huge like believer in that, right?
And you said something earlier, you were like, people don't like pain. People don't like adversity, but there's no resurrection without the crucifixion.
Yeah.
Like Jesus doesn't defeat death, defeat sin without going through that painful process. And listen, here's a beautiful thing about our Savior, that like he prays in the garden, like, Lord, is there any chance we could do it a different way? If it be your will, could you
that was
take
the humanity in
Can you take this cup
showing
from me?
up like
and that's what that's what I love about Jesus. Like it's okay to say, Lord, this is hard. Is there any way you could spare me from this process? But if it's God's will, he'll grace you for it. And then on the other side of the process, the pain, the journey, the turmoil, the adversity, whatever, man, there's something beautiful on the other side of that. And so,
he says, for the joy set before him.
Yes.
And it's like, oh my gosh.
I shared that verse with my wife literally yesterday.
The joy set before him. And it's in those moments when at the end of service, when we see those hands raised and people turning over their lives to say, yes, I'm following you. I'm surrendering everything to just follow you. I don't even know you yet, but something in this room, the Holy Spirit was working. And so I'm just going to trust it and say, yes, that's the joy.
1,000%.
And so when we talk about getting the prize, what's the prize? And I think we all have to evaluate that. And that what is the prize?
And I love that you said that, because you said I don't know what I'm saying yes to, almost like I know like I don't know, I know I need to say yes to this. I feel something that I need to say yes to this, and that's the faith aspect, I believe. And the Bible says that without faith it's impossible to please God. Impossible to please God. It doesn't say without faith it's impossible to know God, but it's impossible to please him. And so there's something beautiful about you saying, Lord, I don't really know you. It's my first time in church. Didn't grow up in church. If you go down the 10 Commandments, I've messed up a lot. But there's something that's speaking, something calling me home. I once heard this quote. It was like by Dr. Chris Green. He's a professor at SCU. He said, the only way that a created thing can return to its like origin or source is by returning to God. So even if you don't know God, even if you don't believe in God, when you go to church, it's your first time in God. There's something calling you, and it's the Lord calling you home. Like you're going back to the source of origin, my purpose, my creator. So there's just something so beautiful in there, and that's a little bit of a rabbit hole. But anything else you wanted to touch on?
No. I know that we talked about it the other day because we're talking about like adversity and character and whatnot. And I remember when I first came back to God, the verse that he would like burn into me was, I can't remember where it is in Isaiah, but I know it's in Isaiah. It's I've refined you not as silver is refined, rather I've refined you in the furnace of suffering. And that to me, and we talked about it the other day, right? Or a few days ago, we were like, man, if only people knew how to suffer well, they wouldn't give up so quickly. You know, like, oh, you know, I can't have kids.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like, so what's is this any of this worth it?
Yeah.
You know, like, oh, I can't find a job. Is any of this worth it? Or I can't get a house. I can't find a spouse, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
And it's like, that verse just, it shows me that you have to go through the pain. You have to go through those moments of adversity, those moments that suck, that you're like, man, I really don't want to. For example, like people who avoid therapy for years. It's like, dude, you're avoiding the inevitable because, and shout out Tim Ross, he says it all the time. Whatever doesn't come up and out of your mouth through words, it'll come out through your body in action. That's why some people act out. That's why people sometimes get sick. It's because there's unhealed things in us that God wants to refine out of us. It just, a furnace of suffering. You hear it and you're like, man, why does he want me to suffer? He doesn't want you to suffer. What he wants is who that person is going to be on the other side of that suffering. That's what he wants to bring out of you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you know, there's part of the testimony of what you guys just heard of, like, worked at EA, did all these things, and now a pastor. Part of there was a section in there where, as a Christ follower, I didn't get a promotion that I really wanted at EA. And the person that did get a promotion was another believer. This is a guy that I like. We both used to read together and we used to pray together. And I was upset. At God. I'm like, so are you saying that he reads his word more? Or like, is this like, and I remember just being, to your point of like what came out, how you respond reveals so much of the health of your spirit in that moment. Yeah. And for me, it was so, looking in reflection, it was so immature, it was so emotional that if I was put in that position, it would have just made my ego soar. It would have done more damage than I needed. Yeah. And so thank God I didn't get that promotion. Yeah, man. And I think if we can find more gratitude, not necessarily in the suffering, but in the season. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Lord, reveal to me what you want me to see in this season. Yeah. This isn't what I want. Right. So reveal to me what you need me to see. Because I know there's purpose in everything. I'm following you. Yeah. That's good. So
that's so good.
I'm just going to trust you.
And I love that story because not only is it finish the race, right? Paul says, I have kept the faith. I've finished my race. But it's also run your race. Yeah. Paul was called to build churches in different areas. Yeah. Got all his letters.
He's called to the Gentiles. Right? Everybody else is called to
some are called to the Jews, but then like you see some of the other apostles, like I think of oh my goodness, is it Thomas? I think Thomas was called to India, for example. Like that was his race. Go to India. Paul, to my knowledge, never stepped foot in India. So going back to your story of like the other guy who was also a believer who got the promotion, it's so important to run our race. Lord, what do you have for me? What do you have for my life? Because the enemy can also play around with that. You know, I always say that the comparison is the devil's playground. So the moment you let him in a thought like, oh man, but they have the house. Why don't I have a house? Yeah. Lord, they're married. I've been faithful. Why don't I have a wife? Lord, I've been grinding this podcast for 2 years. Why don't we have the $20 million offer from Spotify like Joe Rogan? And it's like, we love to compare ourselves. But Lord, I started this business 10 years ago, and this guy that started business a year ago, he's got more clients than I do. Lord, I've been in ministry for 5 years. I've been serving you faithfully. Why they plant a church and I'm still here serving another person's vision? Like there's so many ways, ministry, life, business, marriage, relationships, friendships, that if we allow the enemy to start playing, you know, he'll go, hey, look at that. Well, you see, you've been more faithful than me, and he got the job. Right. You did it. And if you let that in, that's why it's so important to run your race and then surrender it to the Lord. You know, like, Lord, I trust you. Like you said, this is yours. This is all yours.
Yeah. And I don't want to be I feel like I'm a sponsored post for like runners right now, but like,
Go ahead, bro.
but really,
My pastor is gonna love this.
is it? Yeah. I mean, like there is an element of when you try to keep up, if you're running an average of like a 12-minute mile and you try keeping up with someone that's running an 8-minute mile, you're going to get exhausted.
Don't put my business out there.
That's what like you're going to get exhausted. And so that's why I love the sport. And it really comes back to, I need to run my race and I need to set those goals. I need to stretch myself a little bit too.
Yeah.
That's why it's important for community to check you if like, bro, you're not that fast, or on the same side which is what I've grown a love for in Tampa, is that run clubs have started popping up. Is that there's guys that are faster than me, way faster than me, and I'll run with them to start just to see if I can keep up. And next thing you know, I can. And so it's like, oh, this is further along than what I even knew what was possible.
Yeah.
And that's why you need community that's going to be able to tell you of like, hey, put the ego aside. This isn't about you. This is actually like, you are designed and you have been created for this. Now go do it. And it's like, oh man, you need that healthy community to remind you.
That's good. It's funny because we always use fighting analogies to talk about, like we see a fight and we think about community too. Like the fighter goes in there. You're in the fight by yourself in the ring. Like that's your life. But you got people in your corner. You got your coach, you got your jiu-jitsu coach, you got your wrestling coach. Like we talk about that a lot. But there's so many analogies in running too. Yeah. Like I think of, again, you invited me out to the run club. Hadn't run in a while. Like I'm probably doing 15 minutes a mile, right? But I love it because you invited me out and you start running, but then eventually you see I'm like the last one. I think somebody was behind me, so I wasn't the last one. But you pull back. And I think there's something so beautiful in that spiritually. There's a principle there, right? Because even if you're further along, the goal, like we're all called for community. Yeah. And so there's someone that they're newer to the faith and you slow down to help them, get them to your level, or even push them up further than you. Man, I remember my cousin, who's the one who lives here in Tampa. He's the one that led me to the Lord when I was 12. He never knew that inviting his little cousin from Puerto Rico to church, that guy would turn out to be a pastor one day at a church. He's not even in ministry. So, but you don't know what you're doing for someone. You just invited me to church. Yeah. Next thing I know, like, oh, the Lord's calling me to ministry. Yeah. They're like, oh, bro, that's cool. Good for you. Yeah. Right. But there's a principle there about like bringing people alongside with you. You need community. You can't do this by yourself. And in the run clubs, I think it's so cool because it pushes you. But if you're faster, it also makes you go like, let me help other people. Oh, yeah. So there's a spiritual principle there as well, I think. Oh, yeah. And it goes back to shepherding. Like, that's just like, I'm going to... Who am I, first of all, that God, you would even choose me to teach someone, right? Yeah. But at the end of the day, if we have the humility to say that we all are learning, not one of us have arrived. That's why I love to say that phrase. We're all learning. Yeah. You guys are way more advanced at this podcast thing than I am, and so I could learn from you. I might run whatever. You guys run with me. Like we're all learning on something. For sure. But you need that community. Absolutely. Yeah. I think it was Jordan Peterson that I once heard him say that whenever he meets anyone, he always assumes that they know something he doesn't. Yeah. And if you know Jordan Peterson, whether you like him or not, he's a smart dude. He knows a lot. And I think that was such a humble principle about whenever he meets anyone, he assumes they know something he doesn't. So whether it's the janitor or the president or whoever, they know something I don't. So that posture of humility to go like, man, what can I learn from you? Yeah. You know, even if I'm more successful than you or whatever, there's something in you. God's put something in you that I can learn from. Yeah. And so kind of want to shift gears as we start to wrap up for the night and talk a little bit about humility because, again, a lot of us want to be the guy. Like a lot of us want to, man, I got to be the it guy. I got to be the CEO. I got to be the president. I got to be the lead pastor. I got to be this, that. And the truth is, Jesus needed a Peter to build the church. Jordan didn't win 5 championships or 6 without Pippen, right? 6, so like right. 6. My bad.
He's the GOAT.
I just looked this up. He got 6.
Yeah. My bad, y'all. Don't crucify me in the comments.
LeBron's got 5.
Yes. No, 4. LeBron has 4.
4?
Yeah.
So then Curry has 4 too. Then
yes.
That's crazy.
Here you go. This is how you know I don't know. I don't watch basketball, y'all.
I just shot this up.
Is done there, dude.
Yeah.
So Jordan's the GOAT, right? But I lost my train of thought with the Jordan.
You need a Scotty. every Jordan needs a Scotty.
Jesus needed Peter.
There you go. Right. So, but I think there's humility in that to say, man, I don't need to be the it guy.
Yeah.
And I think
it's okay to be second fiddle.
Absolutely. Like, and it God, again, run your race. Whatever God's called you to, run it and do it with humility, do it with fervor, like run after the Lord. And so talk to us a little bit about that, just the humility, right? Like you come here and you have a bunch of accolades. I've gotten to know you over the last year, but you don't say anything about yourself. And that's what I love about you. Like I try to surround myself with people that I want to be like. And you're one of the most humblest dudes I've ever met. And so talk to me about that, man. Like the humility that you need to be successful, I think, in ministry, life, career, etc.
Yeah, it's well, first let's define humility, and let's define what that actually is. Like, it's not thinking less of yourself; it's just thinking of yourself less. So I'm not thinking like, well, who am I? I can't run, or I'm not putting myself down. It's like, well, like I have run, I have done these things. We have done these things, but I'm trying to think of myself less. I'm trying to think of like what the audience is going to benefit from. I'm trying to think of what benefit you guys. And so I'm trying to like serve you guys. It always goes back to service. And so that's where for me, when it comes to humility, I think it is tied to your servant heart. I think it's important for us to always think about why did Jesus come? To be served or to serve? Right. He came to serve.
Correct.
And so in this case, it's in any, whether it was EA or Radiant or anywhere else, it was just always just a chance to serve. And so to kind of answer your question about like the second like position, that position can be hard, especially when you're like, man, this guy is doing nothing and I'm doing all the work. It's like, right? It's like, I deserve to be there, but I have to sit in this for how long? And what's typically not realized is that people are watching your battle. A lot of people realize what you want to say, but they're watching how you respond. And so this is a significant character defining moment of, can you be a team player? Can you actually submit and support? Because at the end of the day, we're all second to someone.
Yeah, it's so true.
We're all second to someone.
Yeah.
And for me, even while I might be a location pastor at Radiant, I am still second to our lead pastor.
Yeah.
And our lead pastor is second to a board. And our lead pastor, even then, is second to who?
Jesus.
Exactly. And so that's exactly it. That's why I love the number 2, is because we're second to God. And so whether I am serving EA, Radiant, Pastor Aaron, or anybody else, I'm serving the Lord. I'm going back to serving. And so who am I to boast about anything of myself? It's everything that he's done. I can't even take credit for the story. So it's like,
for real.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, I think that's what's most important about the humility part. And even just going back to this, like when you invited me to this, at first I was like, man, like, why? Like, what am I even gonna say? What is this? Right. And I actually ran into a buddy at Spatty's Coffee. Shout out Spatty's Coffee. Definitely one of my favorite spots. But ran into him and he was like, hey, I'm going to this podcast doing my own thing. I was like, hey, tell me about this podcast thing. Like, why are you doing it? He's a business owner. And he's like, well, who else is gonna share the name as in his company? I was like, and it's, for me, he's like, who else is gonna basically share of God's goodness in your story? I was like, well, yeah, I guess that is me. Like, who else would share so I actually almost got in the way of God's goodness being shared through what he's done in my life. No way.
Wow.
And I was nervous as heck to come over here, but I'm like, you know what? Lord, you're going to speak through me. I'm just going to share your goodness. You're going to take care of the rest.
Amen.
And so I'm just second to him, and I'm second to you guys. I'm second to serving you guys. Amen. So hopefully I was able to do that for you guys.
Absolutely, man.
I've never been in an episode where I don't. There's going to be so many clips. I don't know.
Dude, no, like there's been so many good.
So that's what I'm saying. So many like good moments.
Yeah. So I know how to choose guests well. No, but absolutely, man. I just I thank you, man. I thank you for saying yes, and I think. I don't want to speak for you, but I think from what I've known you, from what we've spoken about in the last hour, I just see that as a recurring theme. You've always said yes to whatever the Lord's calling you to. And I think the Lord's blessed you and honored you because of it. And what would you say to the person who feels stuck, unseen, or impatient right now? We talked a lot about process.
Yeah.
We talked a lot about character development, when we talked about, the humility it takes to just sit and be in the process, embrace the process. So what would you say as a final thought for that person who feels stuck, unseen, almost in prison, like, man, why haven't I gotten out of this? What would you say to that person?
Well, I mean, I'll start for those that are believers already. I would say that the size of your God is really important right now, because if you're feeling stuck, if you're feeling unseen, you could definitely continue to feel that way in a box and in silo. But if you were to present those needs to the Lord, and you were to read scripture and really ask the Lord to replace some names, because I think that's what's happening, is that there's probably some names of insecurity, some names of areas that you haven't just worked out yet. And it's not that we should I don't think we should avoid those names. I think God is this whole time is trying to replace those names with scripture and with truth. And so if you're feeling stuck, if you're feeling unseen, you're absolutely seen before the Lord. You're absolutely moving because you're breathing. And so if you're breathing, there's still purpose in there. There's still purpose. And so I think there is, you're facing a decision of either sitting in this, in which I understand there's definitely moments and seasons where, whether it's mental health, maybe there's just spiritual burnout, maybe there's, for whatever reason, church hurt. Like, there's so many different things as to why someone would feel stuck. I think there's a good godly community that's ready to walk through life with you.
That's good.
And if you don't have that, find a local church that's Bible believing. You have two guys that definitely know some local churches, and so tap into them. But I would say that for the believer, for the person that isn't a believer, that is feeling stuck, feeling unseen, I believe God's working. I believe God's still working a story in your life that is inevitable, but I think it's going to come to a decision of who do you trust, and what is life truly about. I think if we were to really sit down over coffee and think about what it is that you're feeling stuck in, I would probably say it's probably purpose or calling. If you're feeling unseen, it's probably having to do with community. And if it's having to do with life, of what's my future going to look like, I'd probably dare to say that there's a bit of a trust factor of who's in control of this life and what is the purpose of it. And I think there's a conversation that could be had about what Christ could do in your life. And I just, from experience, have seen him be life-giving in every which way. And so I think it's important to continue, whether it's walking, crawling, or running, just finish the race and keep pressing forward. Do not give up. If you have something left to give, what is the phrase? Never give up when you have something left to give.
That's good.
Never give up. If you have something left to give, don't give up.
That's good.
So
that's good. Amen. Well, just wanted to thank you again, man, for coming out. Azlyn, shout out for letting us borrow your husband for a little bit. Thank you to Azlyn, your beautiful wife. Thank you guys for what you're doing for the kingdom in Tampa Bay. I just want to tell you, man, just want to give you your flowers one more time. I want to honor you because this week we got the privilege to meet a fellow staff member from Radiant. And I just told her, we were talking about you, and I'm like, man, I don't think Sam knows how much he means to me. Sam is legit. I've never said this to you, but you're like an older brother, man. I look up to you. I was the oldest in my family, so there's very few figures in my life that I look up to, like an older brother type figure. And you're one of them, man, because from day one, every time we meet, I've always left empowered, encouraged, and covered. And I appreciate that, man. I honor you. I thank you and your wife again for coming out. Shout out again to David and Esther from Deco Films for helping us produce today's episode. If you feel called to start a podcast, we'll leave their contact information in the description. But Rene, do you have anything else to say before we wrap up?
No. It was a great episode. Thanks for joining us, man.
Yeah, of course.
Great. And thank you, David, for helping us out with this. Definitely gonna take the load off of me for 2 episodes.
Shout out to Rene. Man, let me give Rene his flowers too. He does a lot of our back end work.
I didn't say that for that. I just said thank God.
So if you don't like his clips, you're breaking his heart.
Yeah, it's true.
But yeah, thank you again, Sam. We love you, man. It'll be the first of many. We'll have you back at some point.
On the 100th
Next time,
episode.
next time it'll be in Miami though. We gotta show you
Hey,
Miami.
let's go.
For
Let's
sure.
go. Skinny Louie's.
Yes,
come
shout
on.
out Skinny.
Shout out.
Shout out
Yay.
EA Sports. You want to sponsor us?
That's right, y'all. Again, thank you so much, Sam.
Yeah.
Until next time, everybody, we hope you loved this episode. Leave a comment, share, subscribe, and let us know what you want to talk about next time. So we love you. Until next time, peace.